That's Darlene Love, going back all the way to 1963. That's James Mennie's pick for the Christmas song today. Jim, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing pretty good. So that's a Phil Spector-produced Christmas song, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know that was burned into my memory engrams by all her appearances on the Late Show with David Letterman, because that was a tradition.
That's right. You're right.
And it's so funny because I was listening and talking to Bill Brownstein before. Am I correct in assuming, at least for CJAD, this is the first Christmas Eve that you've had to work?
I think it is, actually, yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of chuckled because by my calculations, this is the 19th Christmas Eve I've been working on CJAD. 10 of them with Brian Calasar, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because there's like these little totems, and it's not like normal stuff. For example, some people, like it's the first snow or white Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
When I start hearing promos for the World Junior Hockey Championship, I know it's around Christmas time. When I start hearing Trudy Mason, God love her, talking about tracking Santa, and with a straight face talking about the space-time continuum, I know it's Christmas, and I know I'm on CJAD.
Well,
and I said it on there before. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, when Trudy Mason tells you something about the space-time continuum, you can take it to the bank.
Absolutely.
But all that said, I love doing it. And I've done it more than just the hit. I've done it when I was coming on shows because, and you're aware of this, and maybe some of our listeners are aware of it, Aaron, but the fact is, around this time of year, it's all about family, it's all about togetherness, and the fact is, we know there are people who don't necessarily fit into that. And I know that this station, these voices, our content, this time of year serves a very, very, very important role. People may scream at the radio when they hear my voice, but you know what? They're interacting. It's Christmas, and they got someone to talk to. They have someone to listen to. And I think more than anything else, of all the things that I've been involved with CJAD, that's what makes me proudest. It's being a part of it around this time of year.
Yeah, and we know that so many people who do listen have been listening for so long. I mean, it's kind of like home after a while, right? That's in essence what it comes down to. So to be able to do that and do that every single year, you're right. I'm typically not here. Usually I'm somewhere complaining in an airport right about now that I couldn't get to where I want to go. But it's different to be here on this day. We made a point today of not getting into anything too political, too newsy. Yeah. Because you know what? No, not today.
And the funny thing is, it's kind of crazy though, and I've discovered that because I agree with you to a certain extent. Yeah, these people have been listening forever, but you know what? I'm guessing that Amazon driver who called in hasn't been listening forever, but he listens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's a bunch of people out there, people who are working, whether it's nurses, whether it's cops, whether it's people who actually make things go over this magical time of year. We're a part of that kind of mosaic, and like I say. It is of all the the institutions we have in Montreal, some of which have become a bit rickety. I think CJAD is in there, and right now we're still going strong as far as I'm concerned. So like I say, I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be a part of the station and the show, but especially around this time of year because honestly. You do like to have a truce. You're quite right. We can take a break from politics. It'll still be there on Boxing Day and the day after.
Exactly.
But it's just nice to hear people talking. It's just nice to hear people, whether they're freaking out over their shopping, whether they just basically are missing family members or reconnecting with family members. It's a grand time of year. And indeed, like I say, that Christmas song. By Darlene Love is for me it's part of the experience. There's the Christmas song by Mel Torme, which you played a little earlier. That to me is also a part of Christmas, but it's a larger experience, and it's so crazy because it's true. This station has skewed how I look at the holidays, and indeed to this day, even though I don't do it anymore, I got so used to after all those years. Walking into the studio. For me, it wasn't New Year's Eve until I walked into the studio, looked at the television monitor, and saw the fireworks going off the bridge in Sydney at 9 o'clock in the morning, even though, it was still the 31st here. Yeah. So yeah, I had this entire different sort of, I guess, space-time continuum, perception of the holidays. But man, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
It's funny, as you say, and I think to myself, I don't know if you heard the call from the gentleman who actually is out singing at old folks' homes.
Yeah.
I mean,
how great is that?
To me, that's like, you know what? If you want to hear something nice at Christmas, you couldn't plan a call like that. It was just so heartfelt and so it's so joyous, really, in a way, to know that someone out there could be giving other people so much joy, but getting so much back for himself. We're going to replay that, I think, for people who didn't hear it just after 5:45, because I don't know, that kind of made my afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people out there. And it goes beyond just, the usual feel-good Christmas stories of, filling stockings or, bringing donations to the food bank or whatever. There are people out there who very quietly bring their own magic to the Christmases of total strangers.
Agreed.
And you don't hear about it, and we don't fawn over it, but it's happening out there. And, it's so funny because I heard you talking to David Russell yesterday, and you guys went on about The Lion in Winter, which is a 1968 movie. It is very, very political. It's set in medieval times, and all these great lines that are in it. And you were talking about that, and one thing that David, I guess he didn't have the time to mention, that people don't know is that Lion in Winter is a Christmas movie, believe it or not. It all takes place on Christmas Eve. But there's a great line in there. Beyond all the very clever political stuff, is at one point Katharine Hepburn turns around to Peter O'Toole and says, life has everything but hope. And he looks back at her and says, we're both alive, and for all I know, that's what hope is. And I got to tell you, Aaron, that line has seen me through many a holiday, and there is always hope. I know I sometimes I may not sound like it when I'm on air, but there is always hope, and that hope rests with us. It rests with our belief in ourselves and those around us. And also, I think, in our confidence that no matter how bad things get, they do get better. There's never a yin without a yang. And honestly, I may sound ridiculously naive here, but after all these decades in this rather horrifying business occasionally, I can tell you I found that to be true. It does even out.
Inspiring words, Jim, and whoever thought we'd have two references to The Lion in Winter in the same week on the show. Now,
I got to get my act together because Santa's coming tonight.
Well, yeah, and what year is that movie? You said 68, 69?
68, and what an incredible 3 years that was. You had Lion in Winter, you had this, you had Man for All Seasons. I've got them all on DVD.
Do you really? Okay.
Presumes, but it is so great, and the writing is so crisp. But in the end, even there, the matters of state and intrigue and politics. But in the end, it's about who you trust. It's about who you love. It's about what you want your life to be. And honestly, if that's not Christmas is about, I don't know what it is about.
Time to go watch at least one of those. I think I'm going to do that over the weekend. All right, listen, before we get you out of here, let's talk about what's ahead for 2025. We have a municipal election obviously coming up. It's still roughly, 10 months away, but it's coming up. What else?
Well, people are being sort of very optimistic and saying, well, no matter what Trudeau does, there's going to be a spring federal election. Well, maybe there won't be, at which point Montrealans will be staring at a double-barreled election season, a federal election in October, and a municipal election in November. Which is enough to make you go run screaming for the hills right now. But the thing is, above and beyond everything else, and we look at personalities and clashes and gossip and whatever, the real issue is $11 billion deficit in Quebec, $60 billion deficit in Ottawa. I don't even want to think about how much of our money will be going absolutely nowhere but to debt service at both levels of government. And that is the most heartbreaking element of all this. Because, people say, well, it's all kind of abstract and they're spending and whatever. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, when at one point in Montreal, I think they got it down to maybe 17 cents now. At one point in Montreal, you were paying 25 cents on every tax dollar just for debt service. They've managed to nudge that down. But imagine how much help that money could do, whether it's at the provincial level, whether it's at the federal level. But indeed, because people want photo ops, people want to have large ticket events. We pay for it, and they forget to a certain extent we're not really buying it, we're mortgaging it, and sooner or later the payments come due, and guess who's got to pay them? So that's going to be a pretty cloudy future, pretty uncertain future. I hope that the politicians are up to the task. I hope we are up to the task of keeping them honest. But above and beyond everything else, Aaron, I just hope that you and Val, well, first of all, I hope you patch things up. I heard her on the line with you before this. And, you know what went through my mind when I heard you guys? I hate it when mom and dad fight.
Yeah, we only pretend fight, Jim.
Yeah, I know. But all that said, the best to you and her, happiness and health, and to your families, and to all of our listeners as well. I mean it. As I say, all of you out there are part of a formula, a holiday formula that I have been lucky enough to be a part of for nearly 20 years, and I hope to continue being a part of. But man, oh man, have yourselves a merry little Christmas, a great New Year, and we'll see you all on the other side.
And Jim, the same to you. Could not wish you more for you and your wife. Look forward to seeing you in the new year, my friend. Thank you so much.
À la prochaine.